The Atlantic rainforest contains the highest biodiversity of any of the Brazilian forests. It is classified by the United Nations as being an ecosystem of outstanding global importance, whose conservation is of the highest priority. Yet, at the dawn of the 21st century, its conservation status is critical. 500 years of depredation has reduced it to 8% of its original size. Where the forest once covered an area of 1 million square kilometers, the Atlantic rainforest is now reduced to 80,000 square kilometers, much of it in unsustainably small fragments. This forest contains an unknown number of plant species, estimated as being in the region of 10,000. 6 out of every 10 of these are found nowhere else on the earth. The state of Minas Gerais alone contains over 750 species of birds. In the entire United States, an area somewhat larger than the whole of Brazil, bird species number 450. There are 21 species of primates in these forests, including the critically endangered woolly spider monkey, the symbol of Brazilian conservation. Of an estimated population of 500, perhaps 50 live in these forests here. Since Portuguese adventurers first set foot on these shores 500 years ago, the Atlantic rainforest has systematically been plundered for its timber and cleared to allow for planting of sugar, coffee, and cattle pastures. In this continental-sized country, forests were traditionally considered as barriers to progress, and to many people, they still are. Fragmented forest means loss of habitat. Of the 202 species on Brazil's Red List, those threatened with extinction, 170 come from the Atlantic rainforest. One typical Atlantic rainforest rural community is the isolated municipio of Rosário da Limeira. Located in the southeast of Minas Gerais, in one of the poorest and most inaccessible parts of the state, Rosário da Limeira is an area of small subsistence farmers who eke out a living on fragile forest soils by growing a little rice, a little beans, a patch of maize, and a plot of coffee. Caught in the trap of rural poverty, isolation, lack of schools, and lack of alternatives, farmers in Rosário da Limeira have few options but to plant coffee. Coffee is a demanding crop that requires lots of labor, ever-increasing inputs as soil fertility declines, and ultimately the clearing of more forest land. But even government subsidies to small farmers for planting more coffee cannot disguise the fact that farmers are getting less and less compensation for their labors. 20 years ago, a bag of coffee would buy 10 bags of fertilizer. Now, it will buy 2. 8 kilometers from Rosário da Limeira, along winding mountain roads, you come to Iracambi. 10 years ago, this was an abandoned patch of partly forested mountainside. Now, Iracambi is a flourishing farm that sustains 11 families and is pioneering techniques for sustainable management of forest lands. Iracambi is run by Robin and Binka Le Breton. Robin is a natural resource management consultant to the World Bank with 25 years' experience in the management of tropical ecosystems. Binka is a writer and lecturer on environmental topics. Under the leadership of its directors, Iracambi is starting to live out its vision, to become a model community where farm and forest meet, where people and forests can flourish. Iracambi's mission is to make the conservation of the rainforest more attractive than its destruction. Iracambi recognizes that one of the primary causes of environmental degradation is poverty. Poor farmers cannot afford to make changes. The risks are too high, and there is no safety net of subsidies and insurance if things go wrong. Iracambi is implementing soil fertility methods and alternative farming methods with alternative crops as options to coffee planting. This impoverishes and erodes the soil, while leading to progressive eating away of the forest fringes. Fish farming is one alternative that is proving to be interesting. Iracambi is sustainably harvesting its 150,000 timber trees and working on the rehabilitation of the rainforest through enrichment planting and reforestation with indigenous species. As part of the reforestation program, Iracambi is now planting indigenous trees. If conditions can be improved in the rural areas, if alternative agricultural systems can be devised and shown to work, and if forest peoples can understand the economic potential that lies in the sustainable use of the forests, then there is a chance that the forests will survive. One way for local farmers to earn a living from the forest without contributing to its destruction is by cultivating the powerful indigenous medicinal plants that grow there. Under the direction of British medicinal herbalist Eleanor Gallia, Iracambi Medicinal Plants is working with the local community to identify and record indigenous medicinal plants and learn about their preparation and uses. Iracambi is coordinating the Atlantic Rainforest Cooperative Consortium, a group of researchers, growers, and producers of medicinal plant products from the Atlantic rainforest areas of Minas Gerais and the neighboring state of Rio de Janeiro. Further investigations into the local medicinal plants are being undertaken at the Iracambi Atlantic Rainforest Conservation and Research Center. The Research Center provides a comfortable base for researchers to study rainforest-related topics. Researchers have access to the living laboratory of the protected forests around the Research Center, together with the full logistic, linguistic, and technical support. Through Iracambi's network of links with the local, national, and international communities, researchers can begin work without wasting time on unfamiliar and often frustrating logistical problems. All research conducted at the Research Center will be connected to Iracambi's underlying goals of learning about the forest ecosystems. As we better understand the causes of forest degeneration, we shall learn how best to tackle the problems of forest regeneration. Iracambi Research Center is located in a working forest farm, with every opportunity for researchers to observe at first hand new and better ways of using rainforest lands, both cleared, forested, and regenerating. A clear understanding of the mechanisms of decline and regeneration, together with a comprehensive study of the unique biodiversity which still exists in these forests, will help Iracambi to increase people's understanding of the economic and environmental value of the forests, thereby encouraging the preservation of the unique genetic storehouse which they contain. At the Research Center, Iracambi is seeking funding for two major baseline studies: cataloging flora and fauna and biodiversity, and the study of land use in the area. As Iracambi seeks to learn about its forest environment and enlarge its knowledge base today, it is also concerned about educating the next generation, who will be responsible for caring for the forest. Illiteracy rates for this area of rural Minas Gerais are in the order of 50% of the male population and 70% of the females. As part of its program to help people understand the economic and ecological value of the forests, Iracambi has started a program of environmental education in the local school district, serving a school population of over 1,000 children. Thanks to Iracambi's Conservation Corps of volunteers, we have been able to construct forest trails with interpretative signs. We have produced curriculum material and conducted field days at the center, during which children can visit the forest. They learn about forest species, gaining a greater understanding and appreciation of their forest heritage. Iracambi plans to extend this educational program to local farmers in an extension program under the auspices of its not-for-profit organization Amigos de Iracambi. As part of its outreach to the local community, Iracambi has set up Amigos de Iracambi, a non-profit association whose objectives are to further the understanding and appreciation of the forests and to support activities in the research center. Through Amigos, Iracambi plans to channel funds to the Atlantic Rainforest Land Conservancy Project. Its objective is to acquire tracts of forest land currently threatened with destruction in order to create forest corridors between Iracambi's forest lands and the adjacent 13,000 hectares of protected public forest. Since Brazil is a very large country with many pressing problems, Iracambi recognizes that conservation cannot be left solely in the hands of government agencies, and that private sector must be involved in sustainable development and conservation. Iracambi's ethos is based on the fact that people can be helped to help themselves through education, encouragement, and financial incentives. Iracambi is about forest people helping themselves, valuing their environment, and learning better ways to live in and from the forest. Based on its 10 years of solid achievements under difficult conditions, Iracambi is a place where north meets south, where researchers meet producers, where head knowledge meets heart knowledge, a collection of dedicated people working together to farm the forest and forest the farm.